What's up guys, Americana back here with another video. I know everybody thinks it's a bear market, but not one single bear can tell me why the macro charts that sophisticated investors watch look no different than any past cycle. We'll dive into these 5 charts, and hopefully by the end of this video, you'll have an understanding why the macro is still primed for a pump. So let's dive in. All right, everybody. Probably been a while since you've seen charts like this. I was doing this for a while. But I found it more interesting or more useful for you guys to actually dive into individual charts as they came in. I know the macro isn't for everybody. I was actually having a conversation with somebody in my Discord today. If you haven't noticed, I've kind of leaned into the more trading side of things. My personal experience, I've always preferred swing trading. It's just what resonates with me. You can go heavier on size. The volatility matters less, in my opinion. You have a lot more confluences and stuff like that than just day trading and making sure your win rate and risk to reward is over a certain amount. I don't like losing, and I've found that I'm a lot more successful in swing trading. When I say successful, yes, I make money when I day trade, but what I'm saying is you lose 5 trades in a row and then you win 6 in a row, and then your risk to reward means you made a little bit of money, and the mathematics behind day trading is just not my favorite. But swing trading is kind of my bread and butter. So anyways, that's neither here nor there. So yeah, we're gonna dive into, but I noticed when we look at these macro charts and things like that, it tends to bore people to sleep. People want to know when pump, when moon, when can I make the short-term money and stuff like that. But these charts are important for having an understanding of where you're at within the entire cycle, how the macro environment looks around you, and things like that. So let's go ahead and get associated. I think that's probably going to be the first step here. Up top, we have Bitcoin in blue. This actually looks the most different from cycle to cycle than it typically does when we're at these phases. So I will give you that, and I do understand the kind of confusion around these things, but hopefully this video can alleviate some of that, and you'll have kind of an understanding that the rest of the macro looks very, very, very similar to what it typically does. So next in green is the Russell 2000. In orange is Bitcoin dominance. In blue is the DXY. And finally, at the bottom, we have the copper to gold ratio. So this is copper priced in gold. When this chart goes up, it means copper is outperforming gold. So hopefully that gets you associated with these charts. Now we will dive into the actual breakdown here. Everybody knows this, or if you're following this channel, you should know this. But the Russell 2000 breaking out is a very, very key indicator. The Russell 2000 is US small cap companies. These things only break out in very liquid environments or very risk on environments. So what does that mean for crypto? Crypto is a very risk on asset. Crypto is, especially altcoins, are very liquidity driven assets. It just is what it is at this point. We are not mature enough to be considered TradFi. We don't have consistent flows from 401ks, and we don't have $1 trillion in order book liquidity or order book depth and stuff like that. It just is what it is, and we have to deal with that in the moment that we have to deal with that. Until that changes, we are going to keep having to deal with that. It just is what it is. But this is why, I guess I should say, that the Russell 2000 gives us a good indication of when we can see appreciation from the crypto market. If you look on here, these are just the all-time highs marked out. And when we've been able to close through that, I'm going to be adding vertical lines off and on here. Some of them, or most of them, should line up pretty closely with the areas that we're looking at in here. But just keep that in mind. So Russell 2000 breaks out of its all-time high. This cycle, Bitcoin was a little bit below, lagged a little bit, but you knew that, hey, it was going to get a run, and it did. Okay, so that happened after the Russell 2000 had a strong breakout of the all-time high. All of this happening while Bitcoin dominance was going in for its little kind of final push before rolling over. If you don't know, the bottom of the altcoin market was actually, where was that? I have to go back and double check. But this pop in Bitcoin dominance right here was actually marked as well with Ethereum price and Bitcoin breaking out. So altcoins were actually doing good into that environment as well. So Bitcoin's going parabolic, altcoins were doing well. This was just before Bitcoin dominance truly rolled over, and altcoins really got the final push from there. But this happening while the Russell 2000 was breaking out. We can move down to the DXY down here. You can see we had closed under this macro floor, similar to where we're at now. And by the time we kind of started rolling down from here, this is when the cycle really got kicked off again for Bitcoin, altcoins, Russell 2000, anything attached with liquidity. And then also at the same time, you see copper had started out to outperform gold at that time. So this is the kind of mindset and framework that we are going to be working with as we slide down this chart. We can go ahead and pop over here. Same, very, very, very similar thing. Okay. Russell 2000 breaks out. Liquidity is obviously in the market. The market is obviously very risk on. Bitcoin follows shortly thereafter. Bitcoin dominance shortly thereafter to the downside, i.e. alt season in a liquid risk on environment. DXY was actually at macro highs when this happened, but massive rollover in there. And again, all happening while copper has begun to outperform gold. Now, looking to this cycle, are we in a similar setup? I'm going to take this off. You guys can just assume we're looking at this cycle. This video is actually going to be a lot faster than I thought. Pretty simple stuff. Once we get the things explained and why they matter and stuff, what's it called? It's actually pretty easy to go quickly through it. So again, Russell 2000 breaking out. If you look in here, Russell 2000 gets a firm, strong breakout. I will admit, I was looking at Russell 2000 breakouts back in September. Obviously, massive October 10th liquidation event, things like that. I personally got wrecked on some altcoins I had added to my portfolio at that time. But these things happen. I have added a lot of these altcoins or continue to add to my altcoin bags down at these lows. And it's nice to see that, Russell 2000 has recovered as well. We will go ahead and start with the DXY down here. DXY in a very similar position as back in here. Again, closing underneath those macro lows, potential move down. My thoughts on the DXY is even a move just down to these lows in here should be enough. We kind of see that in here with a majority of the fun in the cycle actually taking place on this leg right here, just going to retest those lows in there. So I do think it's a possibility. I'm not saying that the DXY has to just slam down right here. If we were up here in a similar position like this, as this happened, let's say we were right here and this was yet to happen, I could probably point to something like this if the Russell 2000 was breaking out, if Bitcoin dominance was in a similar place, all of these things. But anyways, a sweep of those lows, a move down to those lows should be enough to get us what we want. The top in the market actually didn't come in until over here, until the DXY had recovered. You can see up here had recovered and started to actually break out. So for DXY now, it'd be like moving down to the lows, kind of chopping around up here. And then once we got that breakout, that would be the end of the market. All right, let's look at copper priced in gold. Nice little shot at getting a bottom in here. You see this multiple times. Get the bottom, you get some sort of like almost Adam and Eve pattern to come in, really 3 times in a row. But you get the bottom, you get another little push down, you get the bottom, you get another little push down, you get the bottom. Whether we're in that kind of push down now or that already occurred kind of right there is yet to be determined. But the point is, looking good for a potential bottom on that. You also have the confluence of gold being at its 4.236 extension or very close. Massive hype coming from gold, people chasing it. All of these things. You hear a lot of people talk about rotation from gold into crypto. Can't confirm or deny that. I don't make that claim. I see the correlation, I see the relationship, but I think this copper versus gold gives us a good indication. So that's really nice to see. And then at the same time, what do we have on Bitcoin dominance? Well, I've covered it a bunch of times in many videos, but Bitcoin dominance massively rolling over on the monthly time frame. Momentum just looking overall weak for a move down from there. I did mention Bitcoin does look different. All right, Bitcoin does, it just looks different. You see this breakout in here came from lower and was very clean. This one, we did have some kind of chop around there, but nothing that's been as drawn out as this. Now, if you're a follower of Raoul Paul or something like that, and you've heard him talk about cycle extending due to liquidity and servicing the debt and things like that, debt maturity being pushed out, that might be the reasoning why. That might be the reason behind it. But nonetheless, it has happened and we do have to deal with it. But as we look at the other things on chart, right, that's why we have 3, 4, 5 charts pulled up. We can use the other things as confluence. So yes, maybe this does look different and it can be explained after the fact. But because we have Russell 2000 breaking out, because we have Bitcoin dominance in a macro free fall on momentum, because we have DXY underneath a range low, because we have copper priced in gold, looking to potentially find a bottom, we can with confidence say that, hey, it's likely that this cycle does continue on and that, the most euphoric phase is ahead of us. I did not think this video was going to be that short, but I actually don't really have much else to say besides that. Maybe that it'll kind of be a benefit if you guys were confused by anything I said in this video or need to rewatch it or something like that. I definitely would do that. If you guys are curious about, momentum on these different charts like DXY momentum, copper priced in gold momentum, I'll try to add that into my short form video. It's getting late right now and I'm trying to get these videos out, so I won't include that here. If you have questions too, you can ask me in the Discord about these individual charts that are acting as confluence. But Russell 2000 I know looks really, really, really good. Bitcoin dominance, absolutely agreeing. DXY structure looks really good. I haven't looked at copper priced in gold. I guess I have it pulled up on here on my chart. So let's at least go ahead and look at momentum. Yeah, so as you can see here, copper priced in gold is flipping bullish on momentum. I guess we have to pull up the the macro suite too to make sure. Yeah, so the regime is matching as well. If we go to the monthly time frame, perfect. Monthly momentum is curling up. So really good to have that confluence, really good to see that. I guess it is probably important that I show that in the video. So I'm glad I did that. And we can go ahead and wrap it up here. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate y'all's support. As always, if you guys have questions on this, again, you can ask me in the Discord. It's completely free. Just hop in there, or you can ask me in the comments. I really appreciate you guys' support as always. I really have big plans for this channel, big plans for the Discord and things like that. So I need y'all, I need your eyeballs, I need you guys paying attention, I need you guys tuning in, and I know you guys do. I get a lot of comments from you guys, and it's the same people kind of showing up again and again and again. So I do appreciate that continued support from you guys. And we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.